just as a quick reminder for anyone who does not know who I am, I know we get a lot of new, thank you to everyone coming in on YouTube, on Instagram. I appreciate you guys. Just as a quick reminder, I'm Michael Manatskanian. I became financially free in less than 5 years of investing in real estate. I'm going to actually break down exactly how I was able to do so in today's training. So instead of a Q&A, I'm going to go over the Super Investor Blueprint and show you guys exactly the step-by-step process that I've used to implement what I call the path of least resistance to be able to become financially free in such a short amount of time. And it came with a lot of intentionality and leverage. And I'm going to really break that down into as much detail as possible for you. So with all that being said, became financially free in less than 5 years through real estate investing, primarily by buying co-living rentals, leveraging creative financing, and raising the money to buy and hold those deals. One thing that I did do is I was a wholesaler. I've done a few fix and flips, so that was active income. But the main thing that I did was take my active income from my job. So I took the active income from the work that I was doing, whether I was active duty military, working for the county of San Diego, and I funneled that into passive income streams. That is essentially what allowed me to scale so much more quickly and safely, having that separate income stream to then funnel into passive income. But in reality, because I was raising all the money for real estate investing, I didn't even have to use my own money. I used my own money in stocks and lending and things like that. Because of the fact that I was able to raise money after I built kind of a solid foundation of real estate investing through house hacking. So with all that being said, let's get into it, right? Like, so what I am doing now, two big things, right? I'm continuing to buy co-living properties. Typically, I'm buying them through multiple. I'm buying multiple at one time, raising the capital in larger amounts. It's just more efficient. So, I'm working with one of my super investors right now, Jeff, who is, he's got 6 properties that we're going to raise money for all collectively. I'm coming in and partnering on that deal, leveraging my experience and my capital raising skills, helping him raise money for his deals and looking at bigger and larger assets in that, or like larger portfolios in that sense. For a lot of you guys, what you need to do, what my recommendation is for you and for your family, the most important thing you can do is focus on getting 5, 10, or even $20,000 a month of cash flow coming in semi-passively, right? There's always some work involved. I'm not going to say it's fully passive, but if you do that, then the world is your oyster. You can literally do anything that you want. And I'm not saying you can go, buy private jets and all that, but you have total control of your time. And that's basically what the Super Investor Blueprint is. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about when I keep saying Super Investor is my group. It's like a group paid coaching community where I basically teach you everything to be able to do so. So, and I will actually show you, I'll screen share and I'll show you what that looks like. But essentially, developing your financial freedom first and foremost. So like, what are your numbers? Like, what are you trying to get to and what is it based on? And then how many properties and how long will it take you to get there? It's much easier when you actually have a defined roadmap and you have an ability to track your progress so that you don't feel like all of this is for naught, right? Like you're actually making progress and you track it. The next phase, in my opinion, is mastering deal analysis. Whether you are a buy and hold real estate investor, a lender, whatever you're doing in real estate, any type of like active investing, you need to understand your numbers. What's a good price to buy it at? What terms do you need to buy it at so that you're maximizing your cash flow? If you have the ability to renegotiate these deals, how are you going to renegotiate them so that you are maximizing the things that matter the most to you, which for the most part is cash flow? You want to be financially free, that comes from cash flow. You want to be wealthy, that comes from ownership benefits. But it's really important because a lot of the things you renegotiate both benefit your cash flow and your ownership benefits. Primarily, if it's seller finance, you decrease the interest rate, increasing cash flow, right? Which makes it even easier to raise money on those deals, which is great. But then if your interest rate is lower, you're also paying down your debts faster. Someone then is building, your tenants are building your debt for you. It's literally beautiful and amazing. And if you need just the solid foundation intro of this stuff, please let me drop the link for, actually, I'll put it right here on the screen. So my free school community called Wealth Through Real Estate, or right here, the URL /wealth-REI, completely free community. I break all this education down. I give you all access to the financial freedom stuff. I show you the ownership benefits, the cash flow benefits, how all of that ties into your ability to become financially free and generate wealth, as well as various ways to analyze subject to deals, seller finance deals, hybrid deals, traditional deals, whatever. I give all that away for free in my free Wealth Through Real Estate School community. So let me drop the link in the comments. So if you don't know, let me drop that link in here if you do need that, because I want to help you guys. I want to help as many of you guys as possible. And what you will see is, for a lot of you guys, I am quite frequently telling you, please, there's a lot of things you guys are asking me that I already have so much content, tools, and resources for you. I'm only one person with only so much time in a day. So I've created these free courses and tools and resources for you to take advantage of and answer the majority of what you need help with. This is the free community, Wealth Through Real Estate. What we're talking about, back to what we're talking about, is the Super Investor School community. This is for those that already have some level of real estate investing experience. You're a buyer already, or maybe you're buying deals traditionally, or you are buying creatively. You are a lender, you're a capital raiser, maybe you're a wholesaler. As long as you have some level of real estate investing experience, I'm not going to try to convince you to do what's in the best interest for you and your family for financial freedom. So if you're already committed, hey, real estate's going to be my path to get there, that's kind of the people that I help. Especially if you have some capital reserves set aside, that is much more beneficial for me as well, because then I feel much more comfortable showing you how to raise money, hundreds, if not millions of dollars of capital to build your buy and hold portfolio, if I know that you can manage your personal finances as well. So that's another prerequisite, ideally. So it's like, you shouldn't join Super Investors if it's going to be a stretch for you and your family financially. I don't want that. I don't want you to get into debt. I don't want credit cards. I want you to be able to do it because you have a long enough runway through your active income streams, or maybe some of your passive income, that you can actually learn and implement these things and then scale your portfolio just the way that I did. So going back to the Super Investor Blueprint, and I'm going to go into each of these in more detail, but we talked about financial freedom foundations is number one. Mastering deal analysis is number two. Like, you have to understand how to analyze deals, but then more importantly, how to be able to effectively renegotiate those deals. Then it's lead generation, right? So lead generation, how are you going to get deals to buy? I'm only talking about buy and hold investors out there today. Like, I'm not talking to wholesalers and this and that. Yeah, I've done it all. I'm talking to my buy and hold real estate investors who want to be financially free. That's what this is about. Whether that's, like I said, 5, 10, 20,000, whatever that is for you cash flow wise, it's kind of just doing the same thing and stacking more and more on it. As you get to higher levels, you need more operations, but I can explain that to you as well. I kind of give all that away as well. So mastering deal analysis, and then renegotiating those deals. Lead generation. So I buy, literally the majority of my deals come from wholesalers. I've done it all. I've done direct acquisitions, JVing. I still do plenty of JVing, but I'm primarily buying my deals from wholesalers and bird dogs. Wholesalers are the ones that are direct to the seller or agent. They have the property under contract. My job is then to filter their deals and see if they're a right fit for me. Either they are the right fit for me, or if they were renegotiated, they could be the right fit for me, or they're not the right fit for me. And that's all right. When it's directly through the seller, or when it's you're working with a wholesaler directly with the seller agent, the great part is then they have the ability to renegotiate the deal if they're not able to sell it otherwise. As you'll see, the majority of wholesalers put properties under contract that are not ever able to get sold. In that scenario, the agent makes no money, the seller makes no money, the wholesaler makes no money. I don't get a deal, right? No one makes any money if you're putting deals under contract that are not sold. And I don't blame wholesalers per se. Their job is to find motivated sellers, put the deals under contract, and try to find a buyer that deal works for. They're not always the best at deal analysis. So that's what my job is. A deal from a wholesaler is not a deal to me. It's a lead in my business. My job is then to analyze that lead and see if it is a deal or can become a deal, or I filter that away. That is a huge part of my lead generation system. And the best part about that is it costs me no money at all. It costs me virtually no time relative to every wholesaler. Every single time a wholesaler has to get a deal, they got to pull a list, or they got to identify motivations, pull a list, skip trace the list, probably cold call a bunch of times to find the few that are actually open and receptive to talking to you, have 10 different touch points to be able to finally get that deal under contract, do all of this work, spend all this time, spend all of this money on CRMs and lists and VAs and all that stuff. All I have to do is decide, is this a deal that I want to buy? And I'm more than happy to compensate my wholesalers for bringing me deals. Absolutely. If you bring me deals that I want to buy, I am so thankful. I'm more than happy to pay you. And the best part is, as we are raising capital for these deals, it's not even your own money. All you're doing is, that's just the cost of doing business. You add that to your capital raise, right? You got to pay a wholesaler, you pay them at closing, you raise that money as part of your capital raise. So that's lead generation through wholesalers. Through bird dogs is a little bit different. So basically, a bird dog is not someone who has the deal like a wholesaler necessarily does. I was kind of a fusion when I was doing it. I was both a wholesaler and a bird dog. Basically, a bird dog is going to come and learn from me. Hey, Michael, I know you want to buy these co-living rentals. You're looking for properties that are at least 3-bedroom, 2-bath in these markets, at least 1,500 square feet. That could be the minimum of what they bring me, or they can even further analyze and say, hey, this is my analysis of why I think this could be a good deal for you to buy. Great thing for the bird dog is now they are learning what types of deals buyers want, especially if it's the asset strategy that they're looking to do. They're looking to do co-living, and they're helping me get co-living deals. It's great for them because they're learning exactly the type of deals that I'm buying. And then they also get paid on those. So most of my deals come from bird dogs or wholesalers. And my job is then to filter and say, from anywhere in the world, any time of the day, literally, I could do this anywhere. I like to work in my office, but you could do this literally anywhere. I've done it from all over the world, actually. I've done it from all over the country. I've done it whether I'm at a conference or a meet. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at. You can do it anywhere. You can analyze a deal, especially as you get better at it, and then say, is this a deal that I want to buy? Is a deal that I think could work if we renegotiate it? Or is this a deal that does not make sense for me? Thank you for bringing it to me. Here's why it doesn't make sense. For example, I just got a deal that was sent to me by a bird dog, and I realized, okay, I need to do a better job of training. I've been very busy and under the weather. I haven't done a very good job of training this bird dog on the deal they brought me. It was not in a market that I want, or was too far out of where I want to buy. It wasn't big enough. It was in a 55 plus community and HOA. Majority of those things are already no-goes for me. If you don't know my buy box, let me drop my buy box. Let me drop my buy box for you. So if you need my buy box, it's literally right here. I'll show it. If you want to see my buy box, it's very general, but you want to see what is not worth it for you to even pursue at all. And then I include a bunch of free calculators, tools, and resources on that page as well. But okay, so that's the first 3 parts. Financial freedom, right? Understanding your foundations and your goal, the timeline, mastering deal analysis, and especially the ability to renegotiate that, consistently generating deals. Then I have the property acquisition blueprint. What does that mean? That's basically the 15 steps I do every single time, from lead from a wholesaler all the way to closing, which includes from bookkeeping or like rehab, bookkeeping, property management. What does that step-by-step process look like? If you are anything like me, you like to know what the steps are ahead of you. Some people are very visionary. They're very, they don't need to know everything before they start. And I don't fully need to know everything, but if I can understand the step-by-step process, even better. I am much more confident when I am much more competent in what I'm expected to do, what that process would look like. Does that mean it's always going to be the exact same thing? Not necessarily. However, if you understand the framework of you do this step and then this step and then this step and then this step, it makes your life so much easier when you already understand that process, especially for the majority of you who are working on your first few deals. It's a lot better and more efficient for you and your business as a whole if you kind of know what that process is going to look like. So that's step 4. Step 5, and I think is one of the most important if you're looking to scale, there is no way, regardless of buying deals from wholesalers, co-living, whatever, there was no way I would have been able to generate acquire over $20 million of real estate investing. Like, there's no way at all that would happen if I was not able to raise capital from others. Like, if I was not able to use other people's money to buy deals, creative financing or not, I would have not been able to acquire as much real estate as I was possibly able to this go around. So, or like this last 4 or 5 years. Sorry, this is very tough because I'm looking at Instagram message. I'm looking at YouTube. I am not my mentor, Pace Morby. I do my best to try to keep track of all this stuff. It is all a distraction for me. It's very hard. Someone's like ADHD, you're looking at everything. And then try to think of what I was saying. So then capital raising, right? So understanding first and foremost, what deals can you even raise capital for, right? If you have a deal that generates $100 a month of cash flow, it's not very likely that you're going to be able to buy that deal, and then spread those returns with someone else that makes it worthwhile for them to fund the deal, the money for that deal. Even 30, 50, $100,000, right? Like they're not going to be willing to fund those deals if there's little to no spread for them. Like what is the benefit for them? You're going to have the few, very few that will maybe do it just for education, but like why be educated on how to do something the way you don't want to do it? Like if it's deals that you don't want to buy, why would they do it for tax benefits if there's other deals that generate tax benefits but also get them better returns? Like you have to understand the deals. The reason why a lot of people have struggle raising money for deals is because they're not great deals. That's like foundational. You can do everything I teach in Super Investors, but if you don't have great deals, that doesn't matter that you're trying to raise money if the deal sucks. You might be able to convince someone, unfortunately, if they're not great at analyzing deals, you'll be able to convince them to invest in your deals. And to each their own, right? Extreme ownership. If a lender is willing to lend money on that deal, that is their full responsibility, right? It's not just the buyer or capital raiser's fault, also the lender's fault. If they're willing to fund those deals, perfect. That is for them, absolutely. So with that being said, that's why deal analysis is so important. But then understanding now that you have a deal that hits certain returns, how are you then what are you able to offer a capital partner that makes the deal enticing for them? Are you going to go with a private money lender where you're paying them a fixed interest rate return on the money that they're lending you, and you need to be able to pay them back at the end of, let's say, that 1 or 2 years, right? If you're raising $100,000 and you're paying them 12% interest, right? $100,000 is the principal loan, but then you're paying them 12% interest, $12,000 of interest, or $1,000 a month of interest, right? $12,000 for the year, $1,000 a month of interest. What are you going to do when that year is up and you owe them that $100,000 back? You're probably not going to generate that through cash flow. So what are the various strategies to handle that? You're going to sell the property, refinance the property, or what I do is refinance that private money lender with another private money lender. Now the property is more stabilized, and it's not the startup phase that first year, and you tend to be able to make it's easier to raise the money that second go around, and you tend to be able to get better, you tend to be able to offer lower returns because it's also lower risk. It's a lower interest rate typically because of the fact that property is very stabilized. Is that always the case? No, it depends on your ability to raise capital, your network, the people you're connecting with, but that's the PML route. Or you go in the private money partnership route, which is what I primarily advocate to the majority of people, including super investors, because that makes it way easier to raise money. A PML is lending you money because they want to earn a certain return. However, they also have the ability to have a more comfortable, safe investment with someone doing a renovation or a BRRRR deal, like where there's a sale or a refinance that's guaranteed that's going to get them paid back. And typically they end up getting higher returns in those deals. Maybe they're a little more risky because it's a flip as opposed to a buy and hold. However, there's much more spread typically, right? Because it's a cash influx event. You buy it, you sell it for a much higher price. You guys profit and you pay them through that spread. Or the refinance, similar concept, but it's the money coming in at the refinance. So that's the PML route. The PMP route is nice because of the fact that you're not just raising money. You're not just raising money from people that are lending strictly to earn. What they're also doing is lending to own. They get ownership benefits this go around where they would not have as a PML. They get the ability to get some tax benefits, property appreciation, debt pay down. All those are tangible benefits that adds to their return on investment, right? It's more than just the interest rate return or equivalent cash on cash return. It is now you also get these ownership benefits that add to the total return on investment. Maybe I should throw some slides up or whatever. Maybe I'll do that next time. It'd be easier. But I do have a lot of this stuff already for you guys in the free Wealth to Real Estate community. And if you're the right fit for super investors, just reach out to me. We'll see. We'll talk about it. It's intentionally not just open to everyone. It's to help people get to the next level. And then secondarily for private money partners, right? So they're lending to earn, but also to own. But then also the best part, some people are lending to learn as well as all three of these. So maybe the deal, because it's a co-living rental, for example, and someone wants to learn how to do that themselves and they want to be the one to raise money or learn co-living or whatever, you can also add those benefits as well, which then make it even easier to raise that money as well. You can do the lend to learn as a PML or PMP, but it's got a whole other weight to it when it's not just you're lending to learn and earn, you're also owning as well. So you actually have the credibility of that portfolio you're building. And that's, if you don't know that I raised over $800,000 in less than 72 hours for a huge co-living portfolio, well, I got 2 whole videos on that exact topic, breaking down exactly the returns I was offering, the education, all that stuff. And then more of a behind the scenes for my owners club and super investors. But I decided to put that out there for as many people as possible so that you all can learn how to raise money fractionally from people at $5,000 increments at a time, if that's what you have access to, or you want to involve more people in your deals. And then the final piece of it, right? So there's financial freedom, mastering deal analysis, consistently generating leads, the property acquisition blueprint, mastering capital raising, and then the systems and operations. So you're going to need to get somewhat systematized. You're going to need solid operations. Everything we kind of talked about in the beginning, steps 2 through 5, are really how you grow your business. Money and deals. It's all money and deals. How do you get money and deals to then be able to buy properties? But then the operations, how do you now manage your portfolio, especially as you continue to scale? It's one thing to have 1 property, and then 5, and then 10, and then like once you're at 60 plus, trust me, it gets very complicated and messy. You need the right people on your team. And typically you're taking some of the excess cash flow that you're generating to then outsource certain responsibilities. One of the first being for me, when I got a certain level of cash flow, this was more of a mindset thing. But once I got my first solid amount of cash flow, $7,500 a month, I started outsourcing to property management and contractors to do more of the work instead of me doing some of that stuff. And then it was, okay, well, now I need a bookkeeper and a CPA. I should not be filing my own taxes. And then as I got my portfolio to over close to 15 million, then it was, okay, well, I need to hire someone so that I can focus on money and deals. I made a good Instagram reel about this, like hiring my operations manager so that, now she's an asset manager, but so she could do a lot of the operations in the back end. I'm getting money, I'm getting deals. I'm deciding which ones we're buying, we're closing on them. And then my asset manager is the one who then assists with getting the insurance, getting the contractors, overseeing the contractors, getting the properties furnished, getting them listed, getting them rented, all of those things, in addition, with support of property management. So that's kind of the operations and systems piece. I guess what I could do quickly is show you guys, and then I want to talk about a very important concept, which was something I talked about at the Squad Up Summit Roundtable, which was essentially the path of least resistance. What I think was what allowed me to scale so quickly and efficiently. And this did not come out of nowhere. This really is in the last year and a half where I've hit my stride in this process, which is why I've been able to over double my portfolio in a year and even go from, $2 million of real estate to over $22 million of real estate in the last 4.5 years. A lot of that came through a lot of trial and error, a lot of education. I've spent over $100,000 in education at this point. And I tried to condense that down and share a lot of it because I think a little bit differently than maybe some. Probably the engineering mindset, right? Just think of things in more step by step and try to educate people in a similar manner than that I like to learn. And all right, so let's see. Let me do this. Let me screen share real quickly. I guess I got to have something to share. All right, I'm going to show you guys inside Super Investors real quickly. So once you come in, start here section, just administrative stuff, get that going. Then you have all of our calls. We have a weekly live mastermind call, live deal analysis. So we throw some, live deal trainings and recordings in there. And then here's the 6 pillars that I was talking about: financial freedom, super deal analysis, lead generation, property acquisitions, mastering capital raising, and then systems and operations. And I guess this isn't just like, the concept of this thing like this. These are insanely in-depth trainings. I don't know any other way but to go really in depth and in the weeds. These are, I don't know, several hours per topic. Not each of these. Usually these are clipped up to like 5 to 15 minute topics. But this, what is this? How many parts is deal analysis? So 3 extremely detailed parts of deal analysis. And not only that, it's all the tools and resources. So you want access to the super creative finance calculator, the one that I use to buy and hold all my deals. Well, that's here. You want to understand how to more effectively use that. Well, cool. I give you even more detailed trainings on how to use those tools. How you can use, this one is pretty interesting. How you can use the super calculator for all types of transactions. This is hybrid, sub two, seller finance, cash. If you take out a new loan, all that is in there. Underwriting deals from wholesalers, right? This is very important. How do you underwrite deals that come from wholesalers? What information do you need and what is typically missing? This is one of the most foundational. And then I would say one of the most important is our mastering capital raising. So this is, once again, no joke. This is a 4-part series. It's actually insane, which basically shows you what are the different options for capital raising? And like, what's that look like? What do I recommend for a lot of you guys? And what's that time look like to your financial freedom? And then once again, going even more into the weeds about analyzing deals with PMLs, with PMPs, how to decide which one to do, the deal returns if you have a primary lender versus a primary partner, right? I love to compare and contrast because everything in this world is trade-offs. So what is the trade-off if you go PML versus PMP? It's not always black and white. What is the right answer? And some deals may not allow for a PML, and some deals just make more sense for a PMP. And then it's, okay, well, now how do you start building this database of private money partners? And then once you get on a call with them, what is the goal? And then how do you actually handle those calls? If you're raising money, what does that presentation actually look like? Oh, let's go back here. When you're actually funding and closing deals, what does that look like? If you're raising money through Fractional, the platform that I used to raise a bunch of money, what does that look like? If you have, all my call scripts for when I'm talking to capital partners and the intro slide deck that I use when I'm reaching out to them, or like the what I run through. If I'm raising money with a PML versus a PMP, what do those actual templates look like that you can copy and customize for yourself? If you're raising money from using the CRM, well, what do those email and text templates look like? And why do I mention the CRM? Because I give you access to the Super Investor CRM, which is what I exclusively use to raise capital from my capital partners. I mean, now sometimes it's a few text messages because I've already got a lot of cool people that I can collaborate with, but there's that. And then strategy sessions, whether you need help with deal analysis, you need help with your overall game plan. And if you're a little bit newer, there's some trainings on actually starting out your investing journey if you're completely brand new. All right. I'm not here to oversell this. I'm just kind of showing you I'm not stating anything that is not actively what I'm educating on. These are the things that I do. This is what I educate on because it is much more simple for me to think. The reason why this works really well for me is because I am literally showing you the things that I am doing. I'm not trying to convince you or show you how to do something that I'm not actively doing, whether it's for myself or for others, including my super investors. I guess one thing I forgot to show, which I would love to show, is the freaking awesomeness of some of the wins for super investors. If you guys are interested, especially if you're interested in the capital raising side of things, when we go to super investors and we just go to some of the wins, first PMP call with a total stranger. So Alex Barnett, my guy, this is posting YouTube content the way that I teach it, being very educational forward. And he's already crushing it. He's already good on YouTube. I mean, he's only got a couple hundred subscribers, but you only need a few people to be able to do that, to make it work successfully. I didn't have a big following or brand. I still don't have a big following or brand. I just hit 600 subscribers on YouTube and 4,000 on Instagram. And I've been doing this thing for a long time now before all this. So how he was able to, let's see, booked a call through his YouTube video. They were looking to partner with him. So basically they already did all the hard work for them. People ask, how do I raise money? Well, he did exactly what I say. And he got someone saying, hey, I want to be your partner. What are you looking for in partners? That's amazing. And then it's using the call script, trying to make sure you hit all the right points. Yes, it's a little clunky at first, of course, but he uses something that I talk about a lot mindset wise. You're never asking anyone for money. Well, I go a little more. I say you're never asking for shit, right? Like what you're doing is providing someone a great investment opportunity. If it's the right fit for them or not, that's ultimately up to them. Your job is to present it in such a effective and efficient way that it makes sense for them. This is raising money for 2 fix and flips. These were PML deals. This was all the training. This is capital raising training from Nick. One-on-one stuff. Creative finance calculator. All right, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with all that. With that being said, are there any questions about any of this before I go into something that I call the path of least resistance when it comes to capital raising? Or not capital raising, but really what if I go back and reflect back on my real estate investing journey, what I think was made it so much more effective and scalable is because I try not to work harder than other people do. I try to work smarter because at the end of the day, my goal was, and I guess continues to be, how can I add more passive income with as little friction as possible in the fastest time frame possible, right? Like, power to you if you want it to be harder or you want it to take longer. That's not my goal in life. My goal isn't to do this thing forever. And my results have shown that my actions and what I've kind of developed is with that same exact goal in mind. How do I make this efficient so that I'm not taking more time or more energy or working unnecessarily harder to get the desired end result? The problem is a lot of people end up focusing, or they end up following or learning from people who have not done the thing that they want to do. And as Dean Graziosi said, I don't even know what he said, but the gist of it at Squad Up Summit was like, go learn from someone who's done the thing that you want to do, essentially. That's why a lot of us gravitate to our awesome mentor, Pace Morby, because he does that, but he does that for a variety of things. For me, it's very narrow and focused. For me, it's how can I buy and hold more real estate with as little of my own money as possible, ideally none of it, to generate as much returns as possible, right? And that is, in essence, what the path of least resistance is when it comes, this super investor blueprint is the path of least resistance. If the goal is to get financially free as quickly as possible, well, you could do that through 100 long-term rentals, or you could do that through 10 co-living rentals. So co-living makes more sense. Why does co-living make more sense? Well, first and foremost, the cash flow is just substantially higher. The cash flow alone for you, if I am raising, like my properties on average generate between $1,500 to $2,000 a month of cash flow, the ones that we are buying. The best long-term rentals maybe make a couple $100s a month. They're more stable. Don't get me wrong. They're less risky. They're for if you have a lower risk tolerance. However, you're going to need to stack a lot more of those. And when you're buying properties that are high cash flowing long-term rentals, you are giving up a lot of the ownership benefits because the markets in which high cash flow occurs is not the same in which high ownership benefits occur. Typically, where you get a lot of high cash flow is smaller properties in smaller markets where there's a much bigger spread between the rent, let's say $1,200, $1,000, and the purchase price of, it's an $80,000 property in a small town in Alabama that does not appreciate very well because it's a small market. There's not a lot of debt pay down because it's such a small loan amount. Yeah, you have your tenants paying down your debt, right? But it's such a tiny loan amount that they're paying down, right? You can do, if you get a bigger property in a better location and you're able to cash flow more, you get both the cash flow and the ownership benefits at a much higher scale. Co-living allows for that. Not only do you get higher cash flow than you would otherwise, but you also, let me turn on this light. It's like a lot for me right now. Let's see if I can turn on this light. Much better. That feels a lot better too. All right. So not only are you getting more cash flow with these co-living rentals, because you're able to make it work in larger markets where there are more people, so you get more appreciation. And these are larger property values or bigger properties, and they have larger debts. They're worth more. They appreciate more, but then you also get more debt pay down benefits. All that adds to your wealth benefits. And then the depreciation, the bigger the property value, the more tax benefits you get as well. For example, for every $1 of cash flow that I get $5 of appreciation and debt pay down, right? Like that is the ratio. So I'm getting, for every $1 towards financial freedom, I'm getting $5 towards wealth, right? So that's really that wealth. The real estate comes from ownership, but you need that cash flow to become financially free. I could not retire necessarily unless it took a long enough period of time from wealth benefits, right? Unless you sold those assets or something. The cash flow is what allowed me to retire, but what's allowing me to get wealthy every single month is My property's appreciating in value because they're in great markets and they're great properties and great locations in those markets. And because my properties are worth more, my tenants are paying down larger amounts of debts on my behalf, right? And the third major benefit of co-living is not only is like it's easier to raise capital. So you get the better cash flow, better ownership benefits, but it's easier to raise capital to then be able to more scalably buy these deals. For example, I am able to, if I'm generating $1,500 to $2,000 a month of cash flow, when I split that with someone, right, they're getting a substantial amount of cash flow for themselves. My private money partners, they're getting a solid amount of cash flow for themselves. So then it's worthwhile for them to want to partner on those deals. Because not only are they also getting more cash flow, they're getting more ownership benefits. And because it's a really cool, it's like the trendy hot topic right now, co-living, it's also easier to raise money on those deals. Not only because the deals are better themselves, also because it's the thing people want to learn more about. So then that education play makes it a lot easier as well, because then you get to help and educate other people. And that's amazing, right? That is incredible because of the fact that not only are they partnering with you and helping you build your dreams with infinite returns, they're helping you buy real estate. Yes, you're putting in time and effort, but they're funding the deal so then you as the capital raiser can then own more real estate with infinite returns. It's literally insane. There's nothing else. You can't go buy stocks. Well, you could probably buy stocks using other people's money. I don't know how that would work, but I don't know who would give you money to do so. You can do that with real estate if you have great real estate investment deals. And I just gave you the cheat code, right? We're doing these private money partnerships with co-living. Not only are they getting better cash flow, better ownership benefits, but they're also getting this education benefit so they can learn how to do it themselves or just learn about this concept as a whole. And then co-living, the thing I didn't even talk about, right? We're talking about the cash flow, the ownership, and the capital raising ability. We're also providing affordable housing. We're solving a problem that the government and that corporations will not solve. It's better that people like you and me do this. We end up becoming more and more financially free. We get more money that we can put towards our causes and things that we care about, right? Who said this? Did Dean say this? No. I don't know. Someone else. Stephen Harvard said this at Squad Up, right? We do good so that we can do well. Or we do well so that we can do good. Whatever. If you are taken care of, if you're financially taken care of, then you can have the more positive impact on the world. It's very hard if you haven't even filled up your own cup. If you are struggling to make your own ends meet, it's very hard to try to care about taking care of the world when you need to take care of yourself and your family. So the cool part about co-living is it's better for you because you're able to become financially free quicker, get more ownership benefits, and build your wealth more quickly, and raise the capital to do so. So it does not have to be your own money, but then you're also providing a solution that the government and others are not able to do, or even if corporations are willing to do it, it's better that people like you and I do it because we tend to personalize and care more about our tenants and our properties than any major large corporation. And I know we're all corporations, right? I have an LLC, you have an LLC, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is those guys who have tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, they're just throwing into a new asset to make a bunch of money. Whereas we're doing it one by one or a couple at a time. We're doing it with much more intentionality. We're not just doing it as a quick cash grab. Yes, we make money. Yes, we get returns, cash flow, and ownership benefits, but we're also better suited to take care of the people that are living in our properties. Essentially, we are more relatable and more close to them. We can help provide better housing and take care of our tenants much better than any major corporation could. That's really what I'm saying. Obviously, I've got a million LLCs. You probably have a couple LLCs, if not a million LLCs. Like, that's not, please don't hold me accountable to like those specific words. So that being said, the financial freedom path of least resistance, simply it's buying co-living rentals. And I gave you a variety of reasons why. Leveraging creative financing, right? You can buy deals any which way, traditionally, cash, whatever. If you go creative financing incorporated there, you're able to negotiate those deals and increase your cash flow much more readily, like much more easily. You're able to increase your ownership benefits because you're able to renegotiate those deals. And because it's creative, it's much more scalable. You don't have to go and ask a bank for approval every single time. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out process. You can just buy the deals from wholesalers, and you need a lot less money to get into those deals because it's not like a 20% down from the bank or all cash or whatever. You're just funding the entry costs, which tend to not be very high in the grand scheme of things, especially for co-living rentals. And then it's easier to raise the money on those because no bank is asking you, hey, well, you just raised $50,000 to buy this deal. Where did that money come from? Whose money is that? Like none of that is part of the process with creative financing. You can buy deals more scalably, more easily. No one's worried about where the money source is coming from. You are finding great investment opportunities. You are raising the money to buy those deals, and you can renegotiate those deals or negotiate them to make them even better to get more cash flow and lower entry on those deals. So co-living, leveraging creative financing to maximize your returns, right? That's where creative financing and make it more scalable. And then capital raising, right? Because I could not scale the way that I did if I did not have the ability to raise. I've raised almost $5 million, right? So around 20% of my portfolio value is what I've raised. Some of that is PML and then replacing with PML, or PML and then converting to PMP. Some of that money is like redundant because it was like some was raised and then pay off or whatever. However, in the grand scheme of things, around 15 to 20% of my portfolio value was money that I raised to generate that portfolio. Well, I've never, and to this day, don't have $5 million sitting in a bank account just waiting for me to deploy in real estate. But the dozens, if not almost 100 partners that I've worked with up to this point, them collectively have had that money. And now they have helped me buy this amazing portfolio. And my job is to then provide them solid returns on their money, whether it was fixed interest rate return or ownership benefits and their returns on the cash flow. So what I mean to say is leveraging co-living, creative financing, and capital raising is that path of least resistance. When you take it one step further and you are also buying deals from wholesalers, right? It doesn't start with a C. Maybe I'll think of a cool thing that starts with C, since all these start with the letter C. That also makes it much more scalable. And once again, this all ties back in. That's why I showed you the Super Investors Blueprint. The whole point of this was to share the things that I talked about during my roundtable at Squad Up Summit, during the co-living meetup that I did afterwards, a little bit that I talked about during last week's session. I'm kind of putting it all together and showing you what the super investor community is. That's literally what it is how can someone who's already an investor, whether you're a buyer, a lender, a capital raiser, a wholesaler, whatever, how can that investor now achieve financial freedom through generating that passive income with the path of least resistance? There's the path. Basically, that's the recipe. Essentially, then the ingredients are what's in Super Investors. It's not like to say you could probably figure it on your own. I had to at some point through mentorship and education and all that stuff. And this is primarily for you guys who are maybe a real estate investor. Traditionally, maybe you have a few deals and you're looking to leverage other people's money, maybe creative financing, maybe more effectively deal analysis, especially from wholesalers, and then the ability to go the co-living route, because all of that is to get you financially free sooner and with less properties, right? You can have more properties. I'm not proud of the number of properties that I have. All I care about is the cash flow. If I could have done the same thing with one phenomenal property, well, that would be better as well, right? Like that's not reality. I don't know what deal does. I mean, you could do that with multifamily. You could do that with some bigger assets. Not really multifamily. That's a longer term game. What can you do that with? Maybe RV parks after you stabilize them, maybe a business. However, the reason why this is also part of the path of least resistance is because it's also accessible to the majority of people. We're talking about single family homes, small multifamily properties. There's no shortage of them. There's no shortage of these deals available through creative wholesalers. There's no shortage of people willing to fund deals like this. They don't need to be accredited. It's not so hard for you to be able to learn how to analyze these deals. I've had plenty of people come into Super Investors who literally, well, not no offense to them. They already know. They told me, right, that they suck at analyzing deals. They had no idea that's just not something that they thought they would ever get good at. They never thought that they'd ever get really good at my calculator in particular. It's very complicated. Well, it's complicated if you don't know how to use it. Once you know how to use it, it just takes you a few minutes. And what it does is when you're analyzing the deal, then everything else is spit out for you. What does the 30-year returns look like on this deal? What with all your projections? What does it look like if you were to bring in a private money partner, private money lender? What does it look like if you were going to if you needed to raise money using that? Like, what does all that stuff look like? You do the analysis, and then everything else is basically automatically done for you. So there's a little bit more upfront work to make sure your deals are solid. Could have made it way more simple, but the problem is I want you to have a very detailed understanding of your deals from cash flow and ownership benefits. And then everything else is done automatically, which makes the whole rest of the process super simple. The raising capital and understanding, what everyone's deal terms look like and how much you can raise and what returns are for this private money partner and you. What are all their various ownership benefits? And that's kind of like, I guess I could share some of this stuff with you guys. There's no reason why not. What I'll share with you quickly is the calculator. And then if there's any questions about any of this stuff, I would be happy to have anyone ask, and I'm happy to help. Obviously, I see some deal analysis stuff. We're in the last couple minutes. Byron has a good question. I'll answer that question. All right, let me show the share screen. Let's go this route. Okay. All right, so the calculator, right? The calculator itself, I'm redesigning it right now, but this is fairly, this is a lot of the deal initial information, entry cost, property information, and then the creative financing structure. Like, is it sub 2, seller finance, hybrid, whatever? You can make this cash. You can do this as traditional. I show you how to do that in like seconds, how you can use this for a variety of things. And then it goes into kind of some of the long-term rental analysis. If there's any balloons on the debt. So there's a lot of debt stuff and then long-term rental. So I'm removing the long-term rental stuff and lowering it to where the management strategies are. All right. But let's say you're analyzing this deal, right? And you need to renegotiate. Let's say this deal gets $388 a month this is as a long-term rental. Let's go as a long-term rental, $388. So it hits your cash flow goal, right? But it doesn't hit your cash on cash return goal of 10%. Well, then automatically this thing will run a variety of scenarios to say, okay, well, if you got it to 5% lower price, which then also reduces the down payment from 24 to 22.8 and 240,000 to $234,000 purchase price, that is when this deal starts to hit your cash on cash return goal as well as your cash flow goal. Or if you were to reduce the interest rate, at what point, like the seller finance interest rate from 6%, at what point would that become a deal for both cash flow and cash on cash return? Well, if you reduce it from 6% to 2.5%, that is when this deal would make sense for you. That is so powerful to be able to renegotiate almost instantly based on just doing your analysis, plugging in the numbers and saying, what could I do to renegotiate and see if this thing makes sense? A lot of the times what you realize with straight sub 2 deals, especially if there's no seller finance, there's very little you can do. Either it works or it doesn't, right? Or you implement a different management strategy. Well, let's get to that, right? You have your pad split deal analysis. You have your midterm rental, your short-term rental deal analysis. But then the power of this is, let's say you have a great deal. You go to your using other people with money tab. Well, if you're using a private money partner and they're getting 40% ownership, 40% cash flow, and they're funding your entry costs of right around $90,000, well, what does their cash flow look like? What about their debt pay down? How much of that do they get a year? What about their property appreciation? How much of that portion do they get? What about tax benefits? How much of that do they get? What's their cash on cash return? What's their return on investment? This is year one breakdown as well. And then for you, well, because you put no money in the game, right? It's infinite returns for you. And this is the 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20-year breakdown. And then it's, what if I did this with a private money lender? How does this deal work for me? If I was paying them every 6 months or I'm paying them quarterly or whatever, what does that amount look like? How much am I generating in cash flow after that? So that's what this is all about. Long-term analysis, 30-year breakdown of for the next 30 years, what does your deal look like? Everything. And this, don't get too far into the weeds about this because it's utilized elsewhere. This is what builds a lot of this. And if you're raising money for a private money lender, well, you can screenshot this and show them what it looks like at the different interest rate returns, like why the deal is safe for them to invest in. Or private money partnerships. Hey, private money partner. A lot of people just screenshot this and they say, hey, this is a big part of my cap raise. And this is what I pretty much do. I just share this and say, hey, this is what we need. 90,000. Here's where it goes. Acquisitions, rehab, furnishings, and reserves. Here's some of the debt structure on the property that we're buying, property information. Here's your returns after year 1, 5, and 10. What are your returns? What's your cash on cash? What's your return on investment? And then other things like amortization schedules, all that good stuff. That's what I mean to say is it gets a little complicated to do the analysis yourself. The big thing then is once you understand how to do that, it's very quick and easy for most people. What you need to do then, what then is basically automated is all the capital raising piece for you. What does the deal look like for you? What does it look like for your partner? And then what does it look like when you're trying to present them the deal terms? So it makes it a good deal for them. Oh man, I see Mike G, my man Mike G's in the house. He was my first ever agent. He helped me with my first ever real estate deal. The crazy part, I'm not even at my 5-year anniversary of buying my first real estate deal. That is May of 2025 will be 5 years since buying my first deal. So I just want that to show you guys how realistic all of this is. And I want you to understand that the first 2 years roughly got me to around $2 million of my portfolio was right around $2 million. A couple of house hacks and some seller finance, creative finance deals that I did on my own. And then joining Sub 2 and the right mentorship, and then paying for more education and learning and implementing, and then basically developing this blueprint, this path least resistance, and scaling it and scaling it and improving it and scaling it. But what allowed me in the last 2 years to get from 2 to 22 million. And then don't get it twisted. It's going to be very easy now to get from 22 to 200 if that's what I want to do. I'm a very simple guy. I don't need too many things. I'm 30 years old. I've got solid, I've got a solid active income source. I've got solid passive income. I want to continue growing and scaling, but I also don't want to I don't want to overly give away my time just for the sake of making more money. I have a baby, a wife. I have an enjoyable life. I like to spend my time doing the things that I enjoy doing. I'm not going to spend it all just grinding for no reason because I don't have a reason for that money yet. I have a lot of things for my causes, but it's not like I'm going to spend all my waking time energy trying to make more money for the sake of it. A lot of the people that I resonate with are of the same mindset. I will work extremely hard. Well, my voice just went out. I work extremely hard for a couple of years, right? And I will leverage that so that I can then enjoy my life doing the things that I care about. The majority of people that I know don't want to work in this constant grind state indefinitely or for the sake of becoming a billionaire. Some people do, and I love that. Like, go do that. That's like, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. But the majority of people I talk to, it's $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Some people have $50,000 or $100,000 a month is what they're looking for. But that will then allow them to have the financial security and safety, as well as the freedom to truly enjoy their life, make all ends meet for themselves. Like, they get all their stuff handled. They delegate a lot of the things like I do now. I'm delegating and hiring to free up even more of my time so that I can truly continue to grow in the capacity that I want to grow in, while also actually enjoying my life. Because for me, it's not just a indefinite goal of money. That doesn't drive me. Like, that does not drive me. It's the freedom and the security for myself and for my family, and now helping other people do the same thing. So I don't think there's anything scarier in this world than what we allowed, I don't know, the government or whatever, society, to be convinced that it's okay to work 60 plus years of your life for someone else to then have maybe $2,000 a month of Social Security to live off of. And then you can enjoy your life at that point. That is like crazy to go day in and day out for 60 years, 2 weeks off a year I don't even know if you have energy to go vacation during that or the money to do so. It's like, what kind of world do we live in now? The goal is to get you financially free so that you can actually enjoy your life, whatever that means to you. For me, it still means working. I'm not done working. I love to work, but it means I'm not going to spend all my waking energy just working for the sake of working, or working just for the sake of money that I have no use for. That's right, Jao. That's what it's all about. Freedom. Absolutely. Financial freedom and then time freedom, which is what Pace taught me. Taking that financial freedom to create more time freedom. So really reinvesting in your team. All right, y'all. Anything that I can try to answer? Oh, where do I recommend owning properties? Well, I will drop this for you. Use this. This is my link for PadSplit. Use that to sign up for free. I leverage the PadSplit platform, which then shows you a lot of amazing things. So I will show you where I recommend. I'll finish this off with that. I will finish this off with that. So you can see where are some of the various markets that I love to invest in. So PadSplit literally shows you a map. If you're signed up, they will show you the blue dots are where they're already operating in. You see all these blue dots: Philly, Baltimore, around Washington, Richmond, Virginia, Raleigh, Charlotte. So this is crazy for me as somebody who's been doing this since 2023 to see how many more there are. This was the OG right here, Atlanta. I own a lot of mine in Atlanta and Georgia. We own some in Savannah, Charlotte, various markets of Florida. So if you want to know, you sign up for PadSplit for free. Oh, let me drop it in here. My let's see. My Instagram people don't have it. I see. My Instagram people don't have it, but you sign up for free on PadSplit and it will literally show you where are the markets they're operating in, how many properties they have, how much demand do they have, what are the different zip codes, what is the weekly room prices, the occupancy. This is great. They have almost 1,000 units, but almost 10,500 people in the last 30 days have looked for housing in that area. And they only have 1,000 active units and with none upcoming. Wouldn't Orlando then be a great place to provide more housing to? They, on average, have 82% of their properties are occupied, and it takes 8 days for the first booking, and you're basically 80% full within 30 days. That's insane that they give this much data away. And this shows you, once again, right, these are the averages. If you know me, I'm not trying to be in the top. I'm not trying to be like the 90 to 100%. I learned in school, like whatever. It doesn't really matter. Like 90 to 100% is whatever. The goal is to be at average and just be above average. You're not trying to be perfect, but if average is 82%, why couldn't I be the one at 90%, right? 90%, 95%. And it's very simple to do so. Having good photos, having your furnishings being solid and presenting them well in your listings, and just taking care of your tenants, being responsive and having better ratings, all that will push you above the average. If you are watching this video, like live recording, if you're on Instagram, you're in my world circle of influence, you're in sub 2 and wealth to real estate and whatever, you're already investing your time and energy into committing to your financial freedom, then you're already head and shoulders above the average. Because the average is, I guarantee you, they're not spending their lunch, their free time. They're not doing this. They're not doing this. And that's okay. They will have an average life. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The majority of you here are trying to be above average. You're trying to have more wealth or financial freedom than the average. That's why you're spending more time and energy doing these things with your time. So, and the goal is be above average, and it's very easy. All I'm saying is it's very easy to be above average, and it's very important because you're already in a lot of the right rooms to be above average. And that is the same thing for managing your properties. I don't think we're trying to be the top 5, 10% because it's tough. Like there's just almost diminishing returns of the effort you have to put in to get in that top percentage. But to be 70%, 80%, very doable. Good listings, good furnishings, effective communication with your tenants. But for me, Atlanta, Orlando, Florida, we love us some Arizona, some Phoenix. But look, even Los Angeles is one of their markets with some available locations. And when you look at gray, it means these are emerging markets. This is not every month this map is increasing with emerging markets. These are new ones. And then blue is more of their established markets. So this is showing you all that stuff already, right? Like this, you want to know where? In my opinion, path least resistance, you can either find your own and self-manage your own co-living rentals, or you can leverage the number one platform out there for co-living rentals. It's like PadSplit is to co-living, right? Or rent by the room as Airbnb is for short-term rentals. Would you really want to have your own short-term rental that you are having to like create websites and ads and all that to get people to come to your house? Or would you rather leverage the platform that provides these tenants for you and makes it as easy as possible? So that's kind of my rationale. That's, once again, path of least friction, path of least resistance. That allows you to then scale more. My job is not to maximize an extra $100 of cash flow on my property. My job is to find more great cash flowing assets and raise more money to then buy and generate $1,000 at a time, not $100 at a time. Not just $1,000 at a time of cash flow, but $5,000 at a time of debt pay down and appreciation, plus pay less taxes. Absolutely, Marianne, leverage all the way. All right, y'all. With that being said, I hope that was a lot of value for you all. If you need anything from me, let me know. One thing I ask, if you have time, come out to my fractional community. I'm going to be, I just dropped the link for you. This is exactly where I raised $800,000 in less than 72 hours. This is where I give away tons of trainings and all that good stuff. It's where I provide updates to our properties and projects for co-living. I just keep sending the same thing. And then I'll be doing another training on how you can raise money in small increments, right? Small increments of capital, small increments at a time, raise money to then build your buy and hold portfolio in easier to raise, like in capital raising environment, right? Essentially, fractional will allow you to raise money in increments of as little as $5,000 per person. And I will show you how you can leverage all of that. Just go into that account, sign up, and then you'll be notified of when I host events on the fractional platform. And then if you're a lender and you maybe don't want to go all in and invest $50,000 to $150,000 on one single deal, you can invest $5,000, $15,000, $25,000 increments and then get into these deals, get comfortable with an operator, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, and then you can have opportunities to get cash flow, get ownership, get the education. You have that option as well. So fractional is great for both the lender and the borrower to be able to work in smaller increments, but then it's more people, which is kind of great. I mean, that's why I won the Midas Touch Award or I believe that's one of the reasons why I won the Midas Touch Award at Squad Up Summit for Sub 2, because I bring as many people into the fold, whether they're lenders, borrowers, they're looking to learn. Like I'm trying to help everyone on every scale of achieving the financial freedom that I believe everyone who's willing to put in the work deserves. I don't know how to say this in a not crazy way. I don't think everyone deserves financial freedom because not everyone is willing to put in the work. You guys are literally spending your life, time, and energy in money on education and coming into these kinds of calls on my Instagram, on Sub 2, on Owners Club, like all these things. I believe because you are putting in the work, the money, time, and energy for that, you deserve financial freedom. Not everyone has the step-by-step roadmap, and that's fine. That's what I provide in Super Investors. However, I believe you deserve it, and I try to help you guys, whether it's for free on Instagram, YouTube, like these live calls, or on my Wealth to Real Estate community, or my Super Investor community. For those of you who are ready to take it to the next level, around 70 of you guys who are just crushing it, that's what that community is for. I got a bunch of ways to help you guys, and that's it.